Welcome to The Funniest Thing.
Yes, indeed.
Where each week we share stories about how stepping out boldly always leads to better than expected outcomes.
Oh, how sweet it is.
I'm Darrell.
I'm Ed.
And we're broadcasting live from CHOBO Studios in beautiful
downtown Van Nuys.
That's right.
All right. Today's show is called Unsubscribe with Joe Williams. And unsubscribing is about unsubscribing to limiting, scary beliefs that get in the way of us taking healthy risks and steps in the direction of our good, inspired steps. And in around the year with Emmett Fox, January 19th, which was 2 days before us recording this.
Yes.
We've talked about this a lot, and this is what I've been using as my primary prayer and meditation technique lately. It's called the Golden Key, and I'm just going to read one paragraph. The actual method of working is simplicity itself. All that you have to do is this. Stop thinking about the difficulty, whatever it is, and think about God instead. This is the complete rule, and if only you will do this, the trouble, whatever it is, will presently disappear. It may be big or little. It may concern health, finance, a lawsuit, a quarrel, an accident, or anything else conceivable. But whatever it is, just stop thinking about it and think of God instead. This is all you have to do. The thing could not be simpler, could it? And yet it never fails to work when given a fair trial. And then from Matthew 19:26, with God, all things are possible.
That's when two things happened to me when I was first reading that. Mike Dugan gave me this, turned me on to this in 1986.
Right.
And the one was, it's too simple to really be effective. But the other one was the driving thought that actually prevailed, thank goodness, was I want to believe it's this easy. Because I can't make, I think I was so overwhelmed by life. And that's when Dugan shared that great statement when he said that, you know, Darrell, many are too smart, but no one's too ignorant or too stupid.
Or too dumb.
To live this way, because it's that simple. I want to be simple. I want to believe this stuff works. But the best part of it all, even if you just want it to believe it works, like in my case, it works. You'll get the results.
It's been working wonders for me. I was talking to Stephen Tom Thorpe last night, and it's just really, it takes practice and it takes faith because we've forgotten our divine inheritance most of the time by the way we've been conditioned to live. It's like we live in a sprawling 5,000-acre estate, but we started living in the outhouse on the front of the property, and we never bothered to look back and see, wait, there's a whole other thing that's supporting us, and it's already ours, and we don't have to earn it. We just have to claim it.
I think the outhouse is in the back of the property.
No, in this case.
Oh, okay, yeah, like
case,
that. We made it our little home.
We made a little outhouse at the very front
Close
of the
to
property.
the road.
Or it could be we went in the back one day to use the outhouse and forgot about the front part. But the main thing is we look out and we see the world, but we never look behind the outhouse and realize like we are, we have inherited this divine inheritance, and it's very real, but our mind has forgotten it. So this method of inviting God into every nook and cranny of our lives, this light, to come back in. It's just turning the light back on in our lives. Yes.
I'm going to read this, but it's funny that you're saying that because on the way here, there's a new Dolly Parton song called Don't Make Me Come Down There.
Yeah.
And in it is a line about, it's basically God singing.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek, one of her songs that she's so good at creating. And in it, she says, if you don't heed me, you will never succeed. And I started to think, because a lot of people think, God's going to come down and punish him, or if I don't heed this weird idea of God. But then when my mind clicked, well, wait a minute, that's true. Because the Bible wasn't saying a punishing God. It was basically saying, since the definition in the Bible, God is love.
Right.
It's saying, if you don't operate with love and generosity towards yourself and towards others, then you're not going to succeed in life.
That's 100% right.
And most of us, this episode is about two things. It's unsubscribing, But when we unsubscribe, it's really about taking the risk to really live and be ourselves.
Yeah, and it's also about, just like if you're on YouTube or whatever, it's about unsubscribing to those channels that don't feel good, that don't nourish you, and resubscribing to the truth of who you are. And that's what you're saying. It feels like this huge risk because these voices are going, yeah, that doesn't even exist. There is no you. You're screwed. But we got to unsubscribe to the channels that are squawking that stuff and reconnect with the voice that is... This is what Darrell put this out for me, and I've been using it lately. It's a good risk if it started with inspiration, and then these voices started getting scared and telling you don't do it and all that. That's the kind of risk you want to find. Use these tools to keep moving forward with. So let's hear that, and let's get on with the show.
Well, that goes perfect with this reading, because this is... Here it is, folks. This is from a book called Easyosophy.
Yes.
It's a former guest that was on our show called Ann Sermons Gillis. I highly recommend this book.
Yes.
It's thin, like we like them.
Yes.
Big print, and has great stuff.
Yeah.
And this is if you have the book, this is on page 41. And here we go. If you had just said no the first time and second time, and all the times that you did not want to do the thing you did, then you wouldn't need to explode. When the tendency to say yes to things you don't want to do becomes a way of life, you completely lose your peace of mind and finally your health. And I'm going to wrap it up with one sentence from God Grant Me. Dependency is about losing the ability to say no.
Yeah, and the ability, it's a voice, a program that jumps up inside of us, and it's telling us all sorts of scary things about ourselves and our worthiness and why we can't say no. And that's why this stuff takes practice and faith, because we're reprogramming our subconscious mind to comply with a higher truth of who we actually are. And that takes time, and it can be scary, and it can feel like nothing's working. But that's when we listen to shows like this, when we have friends that we talk to, we call Silent Unity. So first of all, let's thank our Patreon folks. Oh, no. We want to be a member of the Funniest Thing Club. Darrell, why don't you tell them what that is?
They might already be a member. You 100%. Might already be a member. If you're watching this or listening.
Most likely you are, or you dabble in being a member. And remember, we practice the non-membership member philosophy.
Yes, which is you're a member, but you don't have to even say you're a member or pay any dues or anything.
It's a way of life. It's a way of seeing things. It's a way of doing things.
I'm actually going to describe what a member is of the Funniest Thing Club so you can decide for yourself. We're a group of truth enthusiasts who live each day as ambassadors of God's love. As we consciously radiate love, we perform everyday miracles and experience better than expected outcomes. If you're already living this way or strive to, then you may consider yourself a member. We motivate one another by simply sharing how miracles occurred naturally in our circumstances as the result of living lovingly and expectantly, which could literally translate to practicing the presence of God in the situation, which is what the Golden Key that we opened the show with by Emmett Fox is all about.
Yeah, that's true. It's practicing, realizing that there's a presence of God that's always here. There's a presence of love that is always there, helping us and supporting us, and becoming receptive to it, so that when we're acting, we're not acting with this limited feeling, these limited resources, and trying to put on false faces, and where we can actually act from inspiration, which is very powerful. And speaking of inspiration, thank you to everyone on Patreon, patreon.com/funniest thing. You are helping this show move along swimmingly. We've had someone, I'm not going to mention the name, who bumped up their Patreon this week.
Yes, so thank you so much.
You know who you are. We appreciate you. It's very easy to get on there. There's a button for even $3, $5, $10, $25, and it's really helping this ministry to continue to expand and bless other people and bless you in the process, because when you invest in things that you love and circulate your energy towards the things you love, it comes back to you magnified and multiplied, and you let go of this tyrant of fear around money and realize that it's your friend. And then when you do that, anything's possible, because you're no longer afraid of money. If money's your friend, man, money loves you. Let it in. Let it circulate. Let more come in as a result. So patreon.com/funniest thing. Excuse me. We want to thank the listeners who have sent us things as well at Funniest Thing, P.O. Box 1312, Culver City, California, 90232. we got a postcard from Kirky. And I'm not going to show you the front because it's not, what did you say last? Fit for television?
It's not
Suitable?
suitable for popular consumption.
Yeah, but the quote is from Neville Goddard. It says, "The reason men condition their desires is because they constantly judge after the appearance of being and see things as real, forgetting that the only reality is the consciousness back of them. To see things as real is to deny that all things are possible to God." That's from Neville. It says all things are possible to God, and that I think it's like mistakenly seeing and conditions as permanent. That's what my shirt on the show. If you're not on the YouTube, hop on the YouTube, subscribe. We're going for the 1,000 subscribers this year, and we've been getting people jumping on board on a regular basis. But you'll see I have a shirt that says "Not Today, Satan," and we learned that Satan really means just believing in your five senses, that only what you can see and touch and feel. Because in the Bible, in Hebrew tradition, there's not two powers. There's not God and then this Satan. Satan is just looking at things through the lens that they're static, that they can't be changed, that we're victims of what was going on around us, rather than understanding that we are creators of what's going on around us.
Yes!
We have a big say in what's going on. So we need to unsubscribe to the limiting beliefs. Yes.
No, you have some good readings here. I was going to bring up Ed the other day. Two things happened during my meditation and Ed's conversation with someone at his work.
Yeah.
When they said to you, you got to take in consideration.
Oh, yeah, because I've been reached out to a lot of people this week regarding, and I've been taking days off from work to address physical, mental health, and just following that inspired flow and practicing the presence and all of this. And so I've been talking to everyone. I'm very transparent. Talked to the lady who teaches in my room, and she said, "Wow, I've been thinking of doing the same thing."
Taking time, saying yes. Oh, this is what Dugan said too. No to you is a yes to me. Being able to say no to what I think I must do, or else I might look bad, is actually a yes to the real me, which goes perfect with what your principal told you.
Which ends up being a yes to everyone else, because the teacher that I work with ended up saying, "I've been thinking of looking into support myself. I've been going through the same thing." So I said, "Do it, because then we can talk about it together, and it'll be better for everyone." And then I told my principal what I've been doing, because I said, I'm going to start taking days if I need to. I need to start supporting myself more. I want you to know what's going on. And she said, "Yeah, I know. I feel the same way." And she just happened to say, and I forgot about it in that moment, and I told Darrell about it later, but she said, "Yeah, because you got to think about where you're going to be in 5 years." And I said, she said, "I've been really thinking about this too." And people were telling me, "Oh, you got a great job." And she's like, "Yeah, but I have to think about for myself, how is this affecting me, and where am I going to be in 5 years?" And then I told Darrell about this, and then he told me something.
I was on my walk, and just earlier that same day Ed told me, so I was like, holy cow, I can't believe you're saying that, because just that day in my meditation, I recalled something that I learned years ago, which helps you unsubscribe to the things you're currently saying yes to, or just things you're doing that we kind of get into a routine and we're complacent to making any change, even a little change. We get into this rut. And the thing is, see yourself the 5 year from now, Ed or Darrell or you listener. What would that person be? The person that you would really want to see yourself 5 years from now, what would they be encouraging you to do right now? And it almost compels you, to not just go, just go along with it. I'll just say it compels me when I think this way. And I remember when I was really implementing that idea in my life, how effective it was in taking the fear out of saying no.
Yeah.
Because when I'm not thinking of that Darrell, the one that I see myself as 5 years from now, I tend to just go along, all right, I'll do it. I don't want to upset anyone.
Yeah.
But when you're thinking of the person in that more successful arena 5 years from now, whatever that is to you, it could be healthier, it could be in the job you see yourself in, whatever that is, that you'll start feeling the real you compelling you or encouraging you, I'm going to say no to this, and I'm going to say yes to this.
Yeah.
It is an incredible tool.
Well,
I don't know how we both thought of it on the same day, because it really compels us to act in a much more healthier way towards ourselves and toward those around us.
Well, I know exactly how, because the divine mind obviously wanted us to hear that again, because for me, it came from my principle, and for you, it came through your meditation of something so long ago.
But you know what? You know what motivated it too? Because I actually have that
The
workshop.
teen.
I have a teen workshop, folks. If you're in Los Angeles, if you're a teen, or if you know a teen who would benefit from create your best life via journaling, or I call it journaling. It's this week, the 25th of January at 4:30 at the Central Library. And I was thinking
In
of
Los
those.
Angeles.
Yeah. And during my meditation, sometimes my mind will think of how my good can benefit others.
Yeah.
And as a result of thinking what I could share with these teens, and in addition to whatever I was going to already had planned to say, that thought, that memory came up.
Yeah.
And then Ed reinforced it later. And the main thing these things come up, like, it's not to, yes, it was nice that I did the generosity prayer. What can I say to benefit these kids? But it's always something that we need to heed for ourselves.
100%.
You know, because that tool is helping me these past few days.
Yeah, well, the truth always sets us free, and we need to be set free before we can even begin to encourage others to be set free. And part of the reason why this 5-year thing works is because we have to program the GPS of our subconscious to know where it's going.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
That's a great one.
Yeah, because it's our imagination's creating our life so much more than we realize. All the time, when we're thinking of a meal, we've already imagined eating it. And I was talking to Josh on the way here. You've already eaten those eggs 20 times before they even hit your plate, because you're tasting them while you're making them. You're thinking about
you're
it.
right.
So that's the way we want to be with our life. And if we need to take the time, because believe it or not, and I can tell you this because of what I'm unraveling in my job, you are creating your life experience 100%, 100%, and in so many ways. And this is very, very empowering.
Ed said something very empowering this week, and you should say it now before we read these little things here. We got these important letters. That everything and every...
Oh, I know what you're saying. Oh,
yes.
The misery part? Or
yes, you got to share that.
Okay, yeah, so I've been doing the Emmett Fox, practicing the presence, golden keying, everything. And, I hit the wall where I'm like, what the hell? I used to be doing all this stuff, and I thought that was getting me somewhere. Now I'm not doing anything. Is this really going to work? And then I woke up on Thursday morning, and I was a different person, man. Like, I was myself. Like,
he was resurrected.
I was totally resurrected. I was healthy again, and anything I thought of, any stress around it, dissolved in the awareness that I had. And then that awareness told me, just go back to sleep, take another day off, and I didn't do it, man. And I said, no, I'll make it. I'll tough it out for this day of school. I think I can do it. Immediately, I started coughing on my way to work. My energy was gone. I went from heaven to like basically hell quickly. And thankfully, I had the tools. I talked to you. You gave me a good shellacking. But in that state of mind, and especially as I drove, and my mind, this old mind, just kicked back in and started generating this hellish ideas, I realized that all suffering is self-generated.
Yes.
It's all self-generated. It does not exist in the mind of God, in the mind of the universe. It only exists in our mind in the way we are functioning in that moment. And it was so liberating to think that. Let's get on with this.
Yes. Yeah,
okay.
Do that.
Unity of Tustin shared our show on Facebook. Such a great Unity Truth podcast. Loving the episode called The Universe is Playing Your Song. Sing along. Be uplifted and inspired. Donna Amato, loved when you shared visualizing during your meditation about being in a happy place.
Yes.
She said, oh my God, Darrell, we used to go to 3rd Ward Park in Passaic and feed the ducks too. For me, if I visualize during meditation, I'm sitting in front of a glistening pond,
yes,
engulfed by beautiful flowers, tadpoles swimming with butterflies flying by. Lately, I just listen to meditative music and to the sound of my breathing.
I love Donna Amato. Well, we both grew up near there. That's why.
And I forgot how much I loved tadpoles when I was a kid.
That's good.
Yeah. Lisa Smith said, she emailed us and said, hi, Darrell and Ed. I decided to flip the script. Haha. Oh, and she said, hi, Ed and Darrell. I had a fun incident. She said, I had a fun incident yesterday and I'd like to share. As an ACIM's teacher and student, that's Course in Miracles, my goal is to view people with Christ vision.
Yes.
While at work, I passed by a person who was a new hire and I didn't know her name. I'm trying to be in the habit of silently blessing people as I pass them, so I verbally said hello to her, silently blessed her, and we walked past each other. I said to myself, you really need to introduce yourself to people and ask their names. Then the words from a Doors song popped into my head. Hello, I love you, won't you tell me your name? I laughed, but then as it sunk in, I thought, wow, if I want to see people with Christ vision, I need to set the intention to love first.
Yeah.
I saw this as a reminder to put forth the love before moving on to the relationship.
Yes.
Wouldn't it be great if we all greeted each other this way? Hello, I love you. How are you today? How beautiful our relationships would be. I love it when God speaks to me like this, humorous yet deep. Have a great day, Lisa Schmidt. Thank you, Lisa. We're going to reach out to you with a date for you to come on the show because we saw the other email as well.
Can you sing that line, the new line again?
Hello, I love you. How are you today?
Yes.
That could be an intro to our show. So check out our website, darrellanded.com. Everything's there. Thank you to Chief Engineer out in Kansas City, Kansas. His name is Jeff Comfort, and each week he takes us
right into the comfort zone.
Yeah. Thank you also to Chief Engineer Indy Fawcett right here at CHOBO Studios. How are you today?
Doing great, and I'm resubscribing to Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed after I unsubscribe from things that don't serve me.
Thank you, buddy.
Yes.
You want to be a part of CHOBO Studio, go to chobostudios.com. You can book the studio, PodShuttle.io, and Indy will edit your stuff so it can get up there on TikTok or YouTube or the Instagrams and all of these things that are out there, man. He's the best.
Thank you so much.
You'll see our stuff at Darrell and Ed on Instagram. Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed on YouTube. We have a new TikTok, Darrell and Ed. You'll see our stuff there. So check it out. Shout out to the prayer line, Silent Unity, 800-NOW-PRAY, 800-669-7729. I used it today. This week, I also used the app, and I called them. And this woman, I think it was the same person who prayed when I called for Elliot when he went back to school this year. And she gave me the best affirmation for me at that moment.
Let's hear it.
Because I had been getting really caught up in non-peaceful thinking because I was just unearthing what was going on in my head. But she said, I am guided by peace and I am blessed.
Yes.
And then it just made it so simple. That's so true. When I allow myself to be guided by peace, no matter what's going on in my mind, that's what this Emmett Fox style of Golden King, let the peace guide me. And see what happens. It's amazing. Today's show is called Unsubscribe with Joe Williams. Ooh. Unsubscribe to the belief that it will be difficult, a struggle, or impossible to attain your desire. Contrary to our fears, opportunities abound.
Yes.
Trust that all your needs will be met as you proceed with faith.
Always.
Unsubscribe to the stifling idea that you better not take the risk for fear of looking bad and that you'll be better off if you don't rock the boat. On this episode, Darrell and Ed remind each other and listeners that all growth is risk.
It's true. You can't grow without taking a risk.
I beefed up this last part. I didn't.
Okay, let's hear it. I got to hear the
And during the second segment, today's guest, almighty artist Joe Williams, gets our sparks flying and encourages us to go for it with today's reading, Faith.
That's perfect for Joe Williams.
You know that picture of him
welding? Yeah, welding. Yeah.
So he's going to get our sparks flying, man. We love Joe Williams. We haven't seen him in ages.
I can't wait.
He literally took us to the best barbecue I've ever had when we visited him. We got to get
we
out
were both there
again. Yeah,
I thought for some reason he took you one time and took me another, but wait, we were both there.
I wasn't supposed to mention that. Sorry. All right, let's do the breaths and then keep
going. Because then we're going to wrap up and go to our
readings and such.
Well, wait, I don't know. I think we're ready to roll after our 3 breaths. Okay.
Let's take a breath.
Okay.
I'm finally alive. Why? Because I unsubscribed.
I'm finally alive. Why? Because I unsubscribed. I'm finally alive.
Why? Because I unsubscribed. Yes. Did you want to read the rest of that?
Let me read this. Yeah, because this will be a perfect little wrap up.
And I'll read this little part too.
Okay, I'm going back to the Easyosophy book that we opened the show with on the same page, and she just follows up that reading I previously read with this.
You can get this book yourself. Osophy, like philosophy. Easy-osophy by Anne Sermons Gillis.
And here we go. I used to get mad at people for asking me to do things because I didn't have the courage to say no. Do you remember that? I could still catch myself doing that.
Dude, I'm going unraveling that whole thing at work right now. Do I remember it?
How dare they ask such a thing? The nerve of them. It was easier to make them wrong than to say no. My inner dialogue went like this. If I say no, I may be rejected. I want to be needed. I'd better say yes because I don't want to let them down. If I'm needed, I will be wanted and I will feel good. This will guarantee that I will not be abandoned. These thoughts set me up for serious upset later. That habit had to change. I had to learn how to say no and mean it. And she gives some examples. I had to learn to say no to people who were trying to convert me to Christianity. I do not need to be converted, thank you very much. I am as Christian as I ever will be according to my values, not yours. My way may never suit you. I had to say no to Jehovah's Witnesses and to poor people begging for money. I had to learn to say no to the latest nutrition fad. I had to learn to say no to my child, to accepting board positions, and to telephone calls. People have the right to ask for things, to express their wants and needs, but we have to learn to say no without feeling guilty or ashamed. And that's where seeing ourselves 5 years from now and having that person encourage us makes this easy. And also, as harsh as this sounds, we got to take care of ourselves with that line Mike Dugan taught me, that a no to you, meaning a no to that idea or a no to that situation that we already feel we want to say no to, is actually a yes to our real, true self.
Yes. Okay. You hold this.
I got it.
It will not take me more than an extra minute, but I want to do two things. One, thank you to Chloe Hurd, who works at La Bonne Elementary School and other places. She does a lot of things on her own. She's been sharing the show. She's been sharing a lot of her wisdom with me. She shared it with a substitute teacher. I only know him as Mr. B. He took my card and was very excited to hear this. It really made me realize there's a lot of teachers out there who can benefit from the show.
Yes.
I never really thought about, I always think of who are the people in my life that could benefit. And for some reason, it's so obvious that I missed it. I also want to send a shout out to Barry Perlman, he was the CEO, owner, the founder of Lucky Brand Jeans. You might notice sometimes on the show I wear a hat that says Super Vinyl. That is the name of the record. He literally sells record players and records in like West Hollywood, on the east side of West Hollywood. A beautiful store. I'm going to buy one of those record players because we're thinking about moving. And if I do, that's like one of the first things I want to do. But he was excited. I told him this has become like the uniform for our show.
Yes.
I showed him a little bit of it, gave him the card. So Barry, you're the man. If you're going to buy a record player and you're in Hollywood, it's even just visiting the store. It's all vinyl and amazing sounding record players with tubes and stuff.
Those are the best.
Yeah, so thank you to Barry. And then I'm going to take us out with just this little bit. It's from a reading. I'm not sure who wrote it, but it's Michael Schoonover sent us this. It was in Unity Daily Word. A magazine of mental sunshine is what it was originally called in 1932.
Why did they get rid of that subtitle? Because just hearing that wakes up my mind and makes me feel optimistic.
That's right.
What was it called? A magazine
of mental sunshine.
Of mental sunshine.
And they operate. See, when people hear Darrell and Ed, they think you guys have such a unique thing. It's not unique, man. We're stealing it straight from
we're still
the original Unity. This is not like, wow, how'd you guys do it? We read the stuff. That's how we did it.
We're reading these books and we're believing what they're saying.
Yeah, so he says, make no concessions. Concede not to the belief of your fellows that things about you can master you. Be true to the heavenly teaching that God within you knows no defeat, because it's true. Be loyal to the heavenly vision in which you behold yourself victor over outer things. And it says, listen to this.
This is the best part.
Can you think of the sun as refusing to shine because someone made a face at it? Can you think of the sun as conceding to someone's desire that it cease to radiate glory, warmth, and sunshine? Can you think of the sun as conceding to personal wishes that it lose its glory and cease to shine? Yes, in spirit, you are as abstract as the sun. You are unrelated to the things about you. You must shine with the glory of God in the midst of you. You must not concede to the belief that you can lack health, lack joy, or fail in your undertakings. Make no concessions to the race belief that there is something that you cannot do, something to which you cannot aspire. And this is really awakening to the fact that when you change your beliefs about these things, the whole darn thing changes. And you become who you already know you are and who you keep getting glimpses of who you want to be. We're not putting this in you. It's already in you. We're just reminding you that it's there and that it's worth it. Go for it.
To unsubscribe from those limiting ideas you've been hanging on about yourself.
Yeah, stick with it. It's worth it. Coming up next, almighty artist Joe Williams gets our sparks flying, encourages us to go for it with today's daily reading, Faith. Thank you for listening to Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed from CHOBO Studios. Oh, yeah.
Welcome back. Well, maybe you didn't even leave, but this is the second segment of today's episode, Unsubscribe with Joe Williams.
Yeah, if you ever wonder why there's like some break in the middle, no commercials or anything, it's called peeing, folks.
Bathroom break.
Tinkle break.
Tinklers.
The tinklers, we call it. All right. We got a man who's very, very creative. We spent some time, we already talked about this in the last segment, with him when we visited Unity Village once, got some crazy barbecue. He's an amazing artist. You know, him and Darrell have connected deeply on that front. He's used his art to really bless many veterans.
Yeah,
with
and
art
himself.
therapy, and himself to help heal in his own healing and living a joyful life. We were just talking at the break. I know that his the nonprofit he was running during COVID kind of dissolved, but he's gotten neck deep into his own art again. He's got a sculpture that he's doing, a public piece of art, a sculpture for, I guess it's going to be in the Kansas City area. Joe Williams, how are you, buddy?
Good. Thank you so much for having me.
What's the word on that piece of art you were mentioning that you're working on?
Oh, yeah, no, it's a good little piece. I got it installed a few months ago, and I'm actually making some more of them. But it's actually a hedgehog, and not the animal. I don't know if, Ukraine really kind of hit home for me, with everything that's going on, me having PTSD, me being a Marine,
right.
Kind of really brought a lot of things back up. And, over the pandemic, things just didn't go well for the nonprofit. I mean, just fundraising was terrible. I mean, kind of like it was for everybody else. And, when I decided to finally say no to that venture, kind of to myself and moving on, God just kept redirecting me on this path of like, hey, you got into this from the very beginning about one particular thing, and that was art.
Yes.
So get back into it and focus in with you and yourself. And so, I took some time off and wasn't in the best place. And I got back into the sketchbook and I started drawing and I was following along with what was going on in Ukraine and, kept seeing the images. And one of the big images that I kept seeing was, seeing in downtown Kyiv when they had all those anti-tank barriers, and those big metal, triangle looking thingies. Yes. Those are actually called hedgehogs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're called Czech hedgehogs. And they are, made, in World War I and World War II to really kind of stop tanks and movements.
Wow.
And so I developed this piece out that we were putting around the city, really kind of just, stopping the war. I just think it's kind of ironic of using a, military piece of infrastructure to kind of highlight that, hey, what's going on over there is not right. And
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that piece is perfect metaphor for stopping. But now you're using it instead of as a defensive, what it was intended for is like a defensive piece of armament. You're actually using it as a metaphor because it is about the war, but it's saying, let's stop aggression, which is what it does realistically. But now it's like metaphorically seeing that, let's stop it completely.
Beautiful.
It goes exactly with the topic of let's unsubscribe from war, and then what happens? We're risking, meaning allowing peace.
Yeah, right.
That was a big thing for me on the concept of the piece, too, was, I mean, it's really the whole conceptual part of it was using actual physical object that's used for a physical purpose in a war zone. But here we're not really experiencing that. So how do we think about that? How do we stop, what is the Russian war machine? What is Russians or Putin's, war machine that he's got going on? We can't physically do anything about it, but, there's something that we can think and reflect upon it about ourselves.
Yes.
So, that's where I really wanted to kind of sit there for a minute and stop to really kind of take a link or think about, like, when you look at it, what the hell is this thing? And two, what is it actually about? And, I painted it like the Ukraine colors and all that. And it's actually, in a big median next to the highway in Kansas City, so you really can't miss it.
If you can get a picture of that for us,
we'll put it up on the YouTube channel.
We'll put it up.
Great. I was thinking the same thing.
If you could send it today, and you know what, I love what you brought up, because years ago, what this piece does, because by putting a war zone piece as a piece of art, and the way you've now, we've just heard how you've painted it. What that does for people who've never experienced the things that veterans or people in those situations or civilians in those situations right now are experiencing, but seeing it in now such, our peaceful setting here, thousands of miles away, just running around, sometimes taking our peace that we have for so long here in America for granted. It's a jarring thing to see when you see something that's used in those type of areas. Now here, it makes you go, ooh, wait a minute, I don't want that. It wakes us up to go, wait a minute, I haven't thought about this. I don't want that.
Right.
And by saying I don't want that to myself, and people driving by that might even be conscious, but subconsciously they're saying to themselves, I don't want that. So what thought replaces that, even without consciously doing it, is I want peace. And that thought, by you jarring people, go, okay, I don't want that. That's cool. I don't want that. They're going, peace. Those peaceful thoughts now that are being born out of what was complacency, just not thinking about, is actually adding to the collective conscious that could actually help do something, I believe,
100%.
To transform the situation. It at least gets us thinking in the healthy direction.
Well, absolutely. And that's kind of a big reason for me is, imagine driving to the studio this morning and you have to go through a military checkpoint. You have to go through these, HESCO barriers. You have to go through all this. I mean, just imagine just trying to go to work.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they're doing right now. And, that's kind of getting to the norm of life for them. And, we have this piece over here. So let's put that back out into the world and really kind of think of them about it, kind of like what you said earlier, or about one of the writers that wrote in about, silently blessing somebody. That's something that, I'm a big believer in the energy you put out in the world. We need to do that, even though it could, be a negative object that you're looking at, can still bring some peace into the world, or thoughts into the world that makes it a better place. So that's really kind of where I kind of go with it. And kind of with my art, I like making ugly things. And, it's just because it gets you thinking about other things, the beauty that's really out there rather than what's right in front of you.
Well, I'll tell you, part of the magic is in the healing. Like, this brings you healing.
Yes.
This comes from that creative God place within you, and then you're putting that out into the world, so that magic is going along with the piece. And I wanted to point out what occurred to me when you were talking too, because we're talking about unsubscribing. And you had to unsubscribe to your nonprofit, right? And it's like I'm starting to unsubscribe to the belief that because I've been teaching in special education for 25 years, that means I have to keep doing it. And so a lot of times we have to unsubscribe to something that sounds like that's the right thing to do, to keep doing it, And it's like I've had to unsubscribe. You had to unsubscribe to that and trust that the inspiration that once went into that would lead you somewhere else, and that's what's led you to this piece, and it's an amazing journey in that way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's kind of what it's been. I loved the nonprofit and I loved helping people out, and it just, what can you really do about it with the pandemic, then obviously with everything that's going in with inflation, but telling myself no, that it's time to, move on and go from it.
Yeah.
That was the hardest thing for me is telling myself
Yeah.
no, because I can tell people yes all day long. But the other time that I noticed through that is, you have this inner peace, and it's easy to let that tank go by. And that's what happened to me. Is I let that tank run empty. So now I'm trying to fill it back up. And so that's where it's just kind of going back to the genesis of this whole thing is, go make something.
Yes.
Yeah. That goes with this. Yesterday, I grabbed this book off my table. I think I got it from maybe the Unity of Santa Barbara Lending Library. And I hadn't read it, much of it, but
let them know who it is.
I'm about to. It's called The Hidden Power by Thomas Troward.
And he's the one that inspired Emmett Fox. Emmett Fox would see. He was a judge, a British judge who was in, I guess you would call stationed in India at the time.
Yes.
And he became aware of these higher spiritual ideas during his time in that culture. Yeah. Brought him back to England, and that's where it started moving the whole thought movement forward.
And I think
Thomas Troward.
See, this goes along with what we're talking about, which is the creative power that inspires us from within is the most important thing to stay attuned to. It's not just clinging to the things we've made. If we're being called to move on to something else, then we need to bless what we made, appreciate it, appreciate what we've learned from it, and keep moving. Because that same power that brought us there is going to bring us to something else. And he says, if we clearly realize that the creative power in ourselves is unlimited, then there's no reason for limiting the extent to which we may enjoy what we can create by means of it. Where we are drawing from the infinite, we need to never be afraid of taking more than our share. This is not where the danger lies. The danger is in not sufficiently realizing our own richness and in looking upon the externalized products of our creative power as being the true riches instead of that creative power of spirit itself.
Oh my goodness. I got to share this. One of the things I'm doing, I might as well make an announcement. If you're in Chatsworth or in Los Angeles on Saturday, January 28th at 2:30, Ed's going to make a special guest appearance too. I just said that to force him to go because now he can't back out. So it's going to be a workshop titled Let Go and Have Fun at Fart Camp, which is really kickstarting your creativity. Yeah. So in one of the exercises I have the students do, because I know Joe, I know Ed gets in these predicaments. I know you do because we've talked about it. Plus, we're all creative artists, and you don't have to be creative to be creative, folks. So I don't want you to think any artist is any greater, more creative than you are with whatever creativity comes to you. But the thing,
we're all creating.
We get into this where we start making, which goes along with Troward, too big a deal of our creativity activities that we start shying away from them. You know what I mean? So I try to keep my daily creativity, like you said, bringing out your sketchbook when you're a sculptor, that's, okay, I'm going to have fun here instead of just constantly thinking, oh, well, why do this? I'm really a sculptor. But the sketching, is the gateway.
Or what am I going to get out of this? This is going to make me money. What am I doing here?
Exactly. So one of the exercises that I find very beneficial is making a simple mail art, using a postcard, creating a postcard with something you created.
Right.
But then mailing it to someone. And this does two things. One, because it's a seemingly unintimidating item to create, which is a postcard.
Right.
But you may discount it. Why would I do that? That's not real art. But the motivation to send something to a friend kind of gives you the impetus to move forward and do it. Right. Because it's just for a friend, your inner critic doesn't think about it being perfect.
Right.
And what happens is every time the participants, and when I do this, I'll end up doing something really incredible on the postcard.
Yeah.
And now here's the kicker. So much so that some of them I don't want to mail to Kirk or my friend because I'm like, this is too good. I don't want to give it away. And that's the moment I know I need to mail it.
Yeah.
Because it goes with Troward. When we're generous with our art.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to give it away to, like you giving it away to the public. Like you don't keep your artwork in your backyard. I don't, you know, a lot of the paintings I make, I go, well, I want to keep this one because I really love it. But no, there's something about saying, no, I'm going to give this away. I'm going to let Jen sell it at the shop, or I'm going to mail this postcard away. That reinforces the subconscious connection to the reality, what Troward said, that this inner creativity will continue to grow. My ability will continue to grow because I'm letting it go.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm giving it away and not coveting it.
Right.
You know, it's funny that you say that as an artist. It's hard to let things go.
Yeah.
And it just kind of reminds me of this. And it's funny because I like getting rid of things. It's like if you go to my house, I don't have one piece of my artwork in here because if I sit there and it's in here, I'm going to stare at it and I'm going to find every little imperfection, every little thing I don't like. And I'm going to keep working it and working it and working it until I hate it. And then it's no longer good. And so it's just getting to that point of like, nope, it's good. Let's get it out in the world now and let's do it that way. Because if it sits there too long, I'll sit there and start picking it.
Well, that's what goes on with music too. You overproduce it. Like if you get stuck in that echo chamber, and you just keep like letting that anxious voice make the choices. I've done that before, where I put out music and then I listen to it later and I'm like, dude, I should have done like 4 edits before that. I should not have listened to that last minute. Because what happens is we get these inspired ideas and it's healthy, right? It's a good idea.
Yes.
And then for me, right when I'm about to execute it in a loving, carefree, and successful way, this old little weasel jumps in. He goes, I'll take it from here, boys. And he like starts to try to control the whole thing and turns it into a bad feeling, terrible enterprise. You know what I'm saying? It's like learning to unsubscribe to that. So that's just pump the brakes and go, no. If this is what I've been telling my wife, I'm finally realizing that is not planning. That's just a worry. That is like real planning is when I consciously sit down and say, well, what do I want from this? And make some conscious choices. A nervous little weasel is, that is not planning. That's just a nervous old tape playing. And I'm just learning to say, it's fine if I do that, but let's not be confused. These are not good ideas, and I'm not going to use them.
Well,
I'll let them run out and whatever, but I'm not going to use them. This is not later. Maybe I'll think about it in a calm place and decide if that's really what I want to do. But I've had to make it like a practice because my whole energy, I'm so identified with that part of me from the past.
I've ruined more good artwork that I created by not stopping because I go, well, I need to make this better. And now I look back and go, no, I should have just left it alone, imperfect in that moment. I'm getting better at that, but I just want to let our listeners know and us know that we're in good company if you think this way.
Yes.
Because it was either Picasso. I'm almost 100% sure that it's Picasso who said this, but I know it was someone in that general atmosphere of the great artists. He said, the hardest thing about art isn't the act of creating. It's knowing when to stop. Not continue, not continue to try to fix it. It's like, okay, and I'm getting better at that.
100%.
I'm getting much better because I'll go, no, but I'm like you, Joe. If I leave anything in my vicinity of any of my creations too long, I go from, wow, it felt so good when it first was birthed, like loving it. Then as the weeks go by, it's not really it. Why do I even bother?
I could have done this. I could have done that. And it's just funny when I get those thoughts, and I'm just glad, Ed, you're wearing that shirt was not today, Satan. It gets in my head. That little weasel comes in there, and I'm like, oh, I could have done this, or I could have done that. Not today, Satan. It ain't happening.
Well, you know what happens too, and I used to make a lot of music, and everyone, we'd make CDs, and we'd end up with a closet of shirts and CDs, right? Like we wanted that end product so bad, and then so many artists that they were stuck in that part where it would never get out. Like it would just be and I noticed it really changed. I kind of laid off everything related to music. Although if you listen to the podcast, you'll know that all the music that we use for the show is stuff that I recorded myself.
Yes.
So you never know, like when you rest and just let it rest. But so there's two things. One, I was thinking if we create everything and we hoard it like this, we don't have any room because we're carrying all this stuff. We need to let it go.
Yes.
And Darrell is genius in this. For one, you're right. You are getting better because now Darrell, he says to me, blah, 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 blah. He'll tell me what he's thinking. And then I go, that sounds horrible. And he goes, yeah, that's why I'm telling you. I go, good. Because he knows it feels bad and he's just letting it go. And two, when we're holding all this stuff, man, we don't, our hands are,
we'll make creative things when our hands
we're
are
holding
carrying
too much
our
stuff.
past work.
And what happens is it becomes a blockage to the doorway of the creativity. There's no more room for anything to come out, And last night I had this realization because I've been really opening to God. Like, what do I want to do next? What do I want to do next? And one thing is I want to work individually with kids because part of the difficulty with my work is that I get like 10 kids, 7 kids, 4 kids even, and they all have all these different things they need, and that's fine. But for me, I work best
one-on-one.
Like magic can really happen. I mean, magic's happening now, but for me, what would I like to do? See these kids in a private setting, one-on-one, and really, dude, that would make me, and then, of course, the weasel, but how are you going to make that happen? How's that going to make the same amount you're making now? And I just... I didn't realize it until afterwards, and this is helping clarify. It's like I realized if I didn't have any concerns with money, and I just wanted to do something fun, that would be actually fun for me. I like doing it. It's like sculpting for you or whatever, drawing. I really feel that way when I'm working with the kids that I work with. It's fun. I get energized by it. It's a creative. So I realized I got to do it. I don't know how it's going to look. I'm not going to force it, but I'm not going to write it off and let the weasel go. You're never going to. I'm thankful for hanging out with Darrell so much. It really I caught myself, and I was like, no, that's a good idea. In a generous universe, that's something you have to give away. And you want to give it away. Like it's basically, I've been telling people I'm an educational healer. I want to just have like an educational healing practice. I don't know how that's going to be. Like even saying it, it's like sounds way too big for something I could even do, but.
It doesn't sound too big for me thinking about you, but for you, because you still are subscribing. Like if you said that about me, I'd feel the same way. Because we still, about ourselves, subscribe to these tiny little ideas.
Well, I told you this week.
It's crazy.
I just realized that in the past, my job consultant, and people might be able to relate to this. You might want to unsubscribe if you're like me. I had to call him and tell him, look, I got to break off the partnership because both my job consultant and my financial consultant, I realized this week were the Grim Reaper. The Grim Reaper was my job consultant. He was death. You're gonna die. You're gonna die. Everything was you're gonna die. Don't do anything. So I had to unsubscribe and I had to get a new job consultant, which is inspiration, which is life, which is inspired ideas.
And you're talking about the consultant
in my head.
Yes, in our head.
I had a Grim Reaper in my head that would crush all my great ideas, right? And nothing would get off the ground because you go, this isn't going to work. And I go, I would feel
I will say there's a good way of battling that out. And that's something that, people that are listening out there, I highly suggest getting a sketchbook. You don't have to draw. You don't have to, do whatever, but fill the pages, whether you write, you draw or anything like that, but put the good creative juices out there, but also put the bad creative juices out there as well, too, because a lot of times when I get stuck in my own head, I let that weasel becomes 1, it becomes 2, it becomes 3, and it just starts going. But when I put that on a piece of paper, then, I close my notebook and, I go meditate or, I come back and look at it the next day and I look at it and I'm just like, I was worrying about this. That was dumb of me just thinking about that. And so, when you get it out of your head and out into the world, or onto something physical, then you can actually look at it, appreciate it for what it is, whether it's good or bad, but it'll let you kind of direct your path on where you need to go. And, you keep doing that. And then eventually you're going to get to a spot to be like, wow, I didn't realize how I got here. And it's just those little steps of, getting out of there. So really saying no to yourself is a big thing.
Well, I woke up last night. I couldn't sleep. And I was like, I know now. It's like there's a part of me waking me up, trying to get my attention. And last night in the past I've been very understanding with myself, but I was just like, dude, come on. I don't want to wake up. I want to go to sleep now. But I did get up and I just started writing it out it was a part of me. And this is the transformation of the Grim Reaper, really. Because the Grim Reaper, when you were talking underneath, it's a joyful guy who doesn't want to do that job. And he wasn't meant to be the financial consultant. Right. He wasn't meant to be the job. He just wants to go out and dance. And he takes off his hood and he's like, I was never the Grim Reaper all along. And so my version of that too, I just wrote it all out. And he was like, same voice was just like, basically, F everyone. No one knows what I want to do but me. I'm the only one who knows what I want to do, and it's outlandish, and I'm going to let myself do it. And once I gave him free reign, he was like, I feel so much better. No more constipation.
Oh, my God. The Grim Reaper almost ruined my day last night, too.
Oh, yeah?
My day last night. I'm like Ringo Starr. It's a hard day's night, blokes. Hey, that'd be a good song. No, but because I started thinking, because I'm so excited to do this workshop called Let Go and Have Fun at Fart Camp.
Right.
About, opening, because, yeah. So anyway, but then the Grim Reaper got I don't know if that was a good idea to title that, because, people interested. This is how this Grim Reaper, he's kind of intelligent but weaselly at the same time.
Yeah, of course.
People who would really benefit from that class, they're not going to understand, let go and have fun at fart camp. Maybe you should have titled it, kickstarting your creativity or creative recovery. And I had to just throw it out going, no, this is garbage. And another thing, thank God I was able to release that because I have friends now and I go, no, the right people are going to show up and they're going to get it and they're going to be the people I want to hang around with. You know what I mean? I don't want to attract the wrong people. But the other thing is, those voices that think they have to teach us how to, I'm talking about the negative voices in our heads, these Grim Reaper types. It really is, they don't want to be doing it. And you made it clear because that job that they're thinking that we need to be worried about, they really just want to be told, no, God's going to handle that.
Yeah.
And then the Grim Reaper goes, oh, thank God, because now I don't have to tell you all these frightening thoughts I was having.
Yeah, exactly. He's really our servant, but we forgot that he was our servant. And we stopped giving him directions, and he started running the show, and that's when things got off kilter.
So then the subconscious starts working on our behalf and going, oh, you're right. We don't have to worry about how that's going to come about.
Right.
We just have to keep being enthusiastic about how much we enjoy the idea of doing it this way and acting this way in our life right now.
Right.
And don't worry, the big deal will come together.
Right.
You don't need to worry about how.
That's right.
Well, it's a funny point. You talk about like money and how and directions and path. I'm a firm believer on just kind of letting things go, because I think there's too many times in my life where I force myself into one direction that I should never have been on. And, I'm doing good. I'm putting good out into the world and, kind of expecting this, but it's not really where my heart lied. And it took the pandemic, it took COVID, it took all this other stuff to kind of kick me back over onto that path and do it. And I think that's where people get in their own head too much. Well, I got to do this, this, and this, do it. Well, if you do those things you love, eventually you're going to get to a spot to where you're not worrying about those other things. That little Grim Reaper that's in your head, it's funny to me. I think of like when we're Neanderthals, like don't go into that cave. There's something there going through there. Well, now we're going in today's age. We're like, you get a million different caves now. And so it's easy to get in there just saying, no, we're not going to do this. We're going to go down this path. We're going to go down to this where it's making me happy. It's not the easy way. It's not the hard way. But it's where my heart is leading me, and God will get you back over to that. And that's what I'm a big, firm believer in. Eventually, somehow, some way, you're going to get kicked back to where you should have been in the first place.
Yeah, it's the inspired way, man.
Yes.
I just learned recently, my maybe three greats, very great guy. My grandfather from Germany, my great-great-grandfather from Germany, hopped on a boat in 1864. His name was Gustave. And in French class, all 4 years I took French, I didn't even know this at the time. I took the name Gustave because I thought it was funny. Turns out that was actually the name of my great-great-great-grandfather.
Unbeknownst to you at the time.
Yeah, unbeknownst to me. He hopped on a boat in 1864, came to the United States from Germany, immediately joined the Union Army and fought in the Civil War. And I was thinking, we've lost all sight of what risk is. You know what I'm saying? Like, about how crazy life is.
Yeah.
Like, the people that did this stuff, like, the things that, like, because it's all consciousness. When we believe something is bigger than us, it becomes bigger than us. But when we have a spirit of inspiration in the way you just described, it's like, God, compared to what he did, like the risks I'm thinking of taking are like nothing.
The risks anytime before the early 40s were huge because there was no antibiotics.
Right.
If you got a scratch, you better hope that thing is healed and doesn't get infected.
Right.
I mean, it's amazing the things we make ourselves concerned over today.
Yeah. Life it's so crazy that it's either this inspired, amazing thing or it's completely scary and chaotic, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this guy got on a boat from Germany, came to the United States, fought in a war where they basically like had a house band playing drums. You had to like line up at a certain distance. Like the fact that was even called a war, it was so insane the way they did. Like human existence is so wild, and sometimes it's good to tap into that and realize, like Einstein said, it's either a friendly universe or it's not, and we got to decide. And if it's friendly, we got to jump in and start living it fully while we're here, because it's a very cherished thing we have here to live this life and tap into this.
Well, he also said the more I learn about the universe, the more I come to realize it's benevolent.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But we have to realize it. Otherwise, we see our own shadows that we're casting out onto everything. We see our own limited perceptions projected out. And that's what the show's all about. That's what these tools are for. Joe, can we get the daily word? Do you have the daily word there?
Yep. All right. Saturday, January 21st, 2023. Faith in God helps me believe in myself. I am a divine being endowed with an abundance of powerful spiritual gifts. The love that emanates from the heart of God, the power and the strength that keep me rooted in the truth, and the imagination that sparks my creative spirit, fuels my dreams, are not just in God, they are in me. Co-creating with God means using my divine gifts mindfully and with intention. I deepen in faith as I trust I am meant to use my spiritual inheritance to create the life I wish to live and to reach my highest potential.
Wow.
Faith gives me the assurance to trust myself and remember I can do the seemingly impossible because I am not alone. God is with me and within me. I place my faith in this trust and feel confident and capable in mind and body.
Wow.
And look, that's little down there. You see that a person is justified by works and not by faith alone. James 2:24.
Wow. That's the beauty. When we trust this stuff, as much as we don't overly cherish the things we create, we do end up creating amazing stuff.
I'm always surprised by my ability. That's the thing. Like, I'm sure you are, Joe, and you too. When we trust and let go and like go for that inspired idea and create that thing that initially felt good and not talk us out of it, or making that brush stroke or welding that thing. I don't know. Maybe I should just leave. And we go for it because it was inspired. And now you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that.
Right.
Like that's the real joy of creativity. Yeah. When we allow ourselves to unsubscribe to excessive carefulness.
Yeah, let it come.
And then just let it go. Woo! It's a high like no other.
That's how I learned I'm a writer, because I would write lyrics and then I wouldn't even know what they meant. And then I would, like, a year later look back and go, wow, I did know. I like this knowing was there.
Yes.
So I've learned to trust that so much. Like, it's changed my life. Creativity has changed my life because something is born through me that I have no idea where it's coming from, but I know it's good and I feel it. That it has changed my life, man. Joe?
Yeah. No, I think a big part for that reading for me was, my spiritual inheritance to create the life I wish to live and to reach my highest potential. I think a big thing that that little weasel that gets onto us is, oh, I got to have this job and I got to do this. I got to make this amount of dollars and X amount, whatever. We're going down that path of you're not living life anymore. You're just in life, if that makes sense. And that's where just kind of letting go, because you could run a great successful business and you could absolutely hate life, and it's just not the path that you're supposed to be on. And if you're in that position, something's going to happen to where that business or whatever else is going to go away, and it's going to be a dark spot. But then you're going to get kicked back over to the path of like, hey, this has always been in your heart's desire.
Yes.
But your mind has been over here doing this. So let's go along with that, heart side path and see where that leads you. And I think that's where I know for me personally, it's like, wow, I feel better. I'm not as anxious anymore. I'm not worrying about this, and this. And when I create, somehow it just, that opportunity of, hey, Joe, will you come in and do a sculpture for us? Oh, wow. But that just fell into my lap. Like, where did that come from? It's like,
yes,
it all circles around, and it's just where you put it at, and where's your heart at, where's your mind at, and finding that balance. But a lot of times it's, no, I can't do this anymore. I need to go do this.
Yes.
Yep. That's where I'm at, man.
It's unsubscribing. Unsubscribing to what I think I ought to do, ought to be doing, so then I can be redirected by God to what really feels good, and actually I'm always well provided for. My needs are always met when I'm in that place, for all of us.
Dude, Joe, thank you for coming on. My inspired idea that I just had, if you ever want to come out here, man, be in the studio with us. We will fly you out here. Darrell, you have a studio. You could stay in your guest house and create something.
We could stick them in there somewhere.
He has a whole guest house art studio back there. We will fly you out, man, and spend some time with us, dude. We love you.
Oh, wait, he's coming out.
I am, about that art project,
When are you going to be here?
I'm not sure yet. I'm still kind of planning the details out on it. So
let's see if we can get you in the studio.
Summer, get out there. Yeah. So I got a little art project that I've been working on.
Okay.
So
well, there you go.
Yeah, hopefully.
All right. Well, keep us in the loop, man. We'd love to have you in studio. We have a short little story we like to always
share
about you
from when you were in first grade. You may or may not remember this.
It's amazing stuff, man. When little Joe Williams was in first grade, it was clear he was destined to be an artist. His teacher asked the class if they had ever heard of Leonardo da Vinci. Little Joe raised his hand, and when his teacher called on him, he shouted,
I know who he is. My mom showed me a book about him. He painted that lady with a bad tummy ache.
Joe's teacher was a bit confused. Tummy ache? By God, which painting do you mean, little Joe? Joe smiled with pride.
The Moaning Lisa.
Oh, all right.
Oh, wait. Here comes
Abba-dabba-doo.
Abba-dabba-doo is coming in the studio to sing us out, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes. Hello. Abba-dabba-doo. Where are you going to stand today, sir?
I don't know. Right about right here. Right?
Can you see where you are?
How about here? I'll start with you here.
All right. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Ready? Let's hear the...
I gotta see
if
that.
You change your mind, I'm the first in line. Honey, I'm still free. Take a chance on me. If you need me, let me know. Gonna be around. I've got no place to go when you're feeling down. Take a chance on me. Oh, come on, give me a break. Take a chance on me. Whoa. Visit DarrellandEd.com to find easy links to everything we do. And thanks for being a part of Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed. If you're all alone when the pretty birds have flown, honey, I'm still free. Take a chance on me. Gonna do my very best, and it ain't no lie. If you put me to the test, if you let me try, take a chance on me. That's all I ask of you, honey. Take a chance on me. Yeah! Woo!
At CHOBO Studios.
Yeah, baby.